Warning. Warning. You are entering a territory far from your safe space. You must turn back now, or you will become informed. Go. Now.
None of us has sufficient words to express our grief and sorrow. Hills have lost a husband, a father, a son, a brother, far too soon.
Well, Kim and Ron, I've worked with law enforcement officers for more than 30 years throughout my career, and today I can tell you I saw a lot of sadness. You saw a lot of sadness on the faces of every police officer that you looked at. Deputy Marshal Hill was brought to the Pinnacle Hospital here behind me this morning after the shooting, where he later died.
It's profound sadness that I do inform you that Deputy U.S. Marshal Christopher Hill was lost this morning in the line of duty.
Our community has lost a hero who was doing nothing more than his duty.
The U.S. Marshal Task Force arrived in the 1800 block of Mulberry Street to arrest Shayla Pierce.
It is a sad duty in spite of the loss of life, but we owe it to Deputy Hill to honor his memory and to do our duty. It is a sad duty in spite of the loss of life, but we owe it to Deputy Hill to honor his memory and to do our duty.
Pierce responded by pulling a handgun and twice pointing it at the head of the
Hill's
woman.
body was brought out of the hospital and then transported from the hospital with an escort that included State Police, Capitol Police, and Harrisburg City officers.
Police did not reveal the relationship between Shayla Pierce and the shooter in today's incidents.
Well, Kim and Ron, I've worked with law enforcement officers for more than 30 years throughout my career, and today I can tell you I saw a lot of sadness. You saw a lot of sadness on the faces of every police officer that you looked at. Deputy Marshal Hill was brought to the Pinnacle Hospital here behind me this morning after the shooting, where he later died. And throughout the morning here today, we saw numerous law enforcement officers here involved in the investigation, and some just coming here just to pay their respects. And whenever an officer is injured or killed in the line of duty, the law enforcement community comes together to support its own.
None of us has sufficient words to express our grief and sorrow. Hills have lost a husband, a father, a son, a brother, far too soon. Our community has lost a hero who was doing nothing more than his duty. We will honor Deputy Marshal Hill's memory. We will not back down to the violent crime in our neighborhoods. United States Middle District Chief Judge Connor, who was at a meeting in Philadelphia today, has asked that I read the following statement on behalf of the court. And Judge Jones is here with us. On behalf of the entire court, I extend our prayers and heartfelt sympathies to the family of Deputy Marshal Chris Hill and to the Marshal Service on the tragic loss of his life in the line of duty. Chris was a brave and professional officer who served our court with great distinction. Words cannot express our devastation and sense of
U.S.
loss.
Marshal Task Force arrived in the 1800 block of Mulberry Street to arrest Shayla Pierce, a 30-year-old woman, Harrisburg resident, wanted on charges of terroristic threats. Now, according to charging documents obtained by News 8, back on November 25th, Miss Pierce was in a car in front of her home on Mulberry Street, same location as today's incident. Blocking the street in that car, another woman approached the vehicle and asked Miss Pierce to move her car.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I wish we were here in better circumstances. It's profound sadness that I do inform you that Deputy U.S. Marshal Christopher Hill was lost this morning in the line of duty. Deputy Hill was 45 years old. He was a devoted husband and father of two, an 11-year veteran of the U.S. Marshal Service, and his first assignment was in the Superior Court in Washington. In 2009, he transferred here to our Harrisburg office in the Middle District of Pennsylvania. He was an Army veteran serving in Afghanistan from 1993 to 1996. Deputy Hill was one of our deputies who was highly involved in the manhunt for Eric Freen. During the manhunt, he was chosen to be in command of a large group of Deputy U.S. Marshals, FBI agents, and Pennsylvania State Troopers. They conducted numerous woodland searches, as you are all well aware, in this state. Since September 2010, Deputy Hill was a member of our prestigious Special Operations Group, which is a highly trained unit, which also was at the Frayne investigation. He is also known and trained as an explosives breacher. Deputy Hill received the United States Marshal Service Distinguished Group Award for significant contributions and Afghanistan. This is a man who served his country over there with the U.S. Marshal Service, helping to stand up justice, the judicial system in Afghanistan. There's a role that he played there. Deputy Hill was a firearms instructor and a tactical training officer, improving operational safety and mitigation risks for all deputies assigned in the Middle District of Pennsylvania. But this morning, Deputy Hill made the ultimate sacrifice while executing an arrest warrant of a female suspect wanted for terroristic threats with a weapon. While executing the warrant, it was outlined the team was fired upon by a male suspect. Deputy Hill and his 2 task force officers were struck by gunfire during the assault, and he was transported immediately to Pinnacle Hospital here in Harrisburg, where he died. Deputy Hill served the American people and the citizens of this community with courage. He will be missed, and words cannot say how much. I ask that you keep his wife and 2 children in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. Also wounded on this day during the same event was Officer Kyle Pitts, who is a fugitive task force member from the York City Police Department. Officer Pitts is currently under operation right now. He is expected to survive. He has 3 children, and he has worked for 10 years with the York City Police Department. Thank you.
The Hills have lost a husband, a father, a son, a brother far too soon. Our community has lost a hero who was doing nothing more than his duty.
Right around noon today here at this hospital, a very moving scene. Hill's body was brought out of the hospital and then transported from the hospital with an escort that included State Police, Capitol Police, and Harrisburg City officers. At a press conference this afternoon, investigators said even though the apparent shooter in this case is dead, they still owe it to the honor of Deputy Marshal Hill to conduct a full and thorough investigation, which they are promising, and they're also promising to thoroughly support his family in the days, weeks, and months ahead.
Whenever there is a use of deadly force by officers in this county, the Dauphin County District Attorney's Office is called upon to review that use of deadly force. That is no less so in a case such as this. It is a sad duty in spite of the loss of life, but we owe it to Deputy Hill to honor his memory and to do our duty. And so we intend to do our duty in spite of the tragic loss of life today. It is apparent that the individual who was killed today, the suspect who was fired on the officers, did so without any cause, but we must nonetheless conduct a full investigation. We owe it to Deputy Hill to do so, and we will do so. We have processed the scene fully, and we will continue to do so. We have interviews to conduct with all the officers and a number of neighbors, and we will come out with conclusions to that investigation, determining whether or not the use of deadly force was justified, although I note that preliminarily, based on the fact that the dead suspect opened fire first, it appears preliminarily, obviously, that it was a justified use of deadly force, but we must complete a complete investigation before formally making that determination. Thank you.
Pierce responded by pulling a handgun and twice pointing it at the head of the woman, both times threatening to kill the woman, according to those court documents. Police did not locate Shayla Pierce that night, and that's what led to the task force arriving this morning. Now, Pierce was arraigned on those terroristic threat charges this afternoon at the Dauphin County Booking Center and is now here at Dauphin County Prison. Police did not reveal the relationship between Shayla Pierce and the shooter in today's incidents. Live in Dauphin County, Mike Straub, News 8.
Our entire community mourns the loss of Deputy Hill, and the brotherhood and sisterhood of law enforcement stands together. And the Office of Attorney General will support our federal and local partners in any way needed to keep our community safe. We just simply ask that our community comes together and keeps the Hill family in their thoughts and in their prayers. I want to thank U.S. Attorney Freed for his extraordinary leadership in this very difficult time.
And as always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. Also follow us on the usual media for more and interesting information like this.
Fight their asses!